It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Wednesday, not much going on. We're going to talk some golf, a little bit of football.
Yeah, let's talk football.
Maybe some NASCAR.
NASCAR.
Gary, how are you?
Good. Just looking here from New York Times, from about 25 minutes ago. In every state where votes are nearly complete, according to the New York Times estimate, Trump has improved his margin compared with 2020. Even reliably, blue states like Delaware, Rhode Island, and Vermont have seen a Republican shift. If our election model's current estimate holds, the presidential margin in New York and New Jersey also will have shifted 9 or 10 points more Republican. We're hoping that everybody's paying attention, but if you did not, Trump is on the verge of victory here in the 2024 presidential election. I want to play before we get to, because I know, Eric, you've got some stuff too also from the New York Times projections, but I want to go, this is probably about 20, 25 minutes ago from the Harris campaign. Here's some audio here. Here we go from one of the campaign surrogates.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in the promise of America. We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the Vice President tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. Thank you for...
That's from Howard University, by the way.
Yeah. With all due respect to Mr. Richmond, that doesn't sound like somebody who's anticipating a win. It's exactly what we saw. It was a little bit later in the evening or morning, I guess, back in 2016 when Hillary finally said, and it was the New York Times was about to call it. It was around, I think, somewhere around 2:30 a.m. Eastern time, and the New York Times actually ended up, we found this out later, calling their campaign headquarters, or their watch headquarters, I guess their campaign headquarters for the night at the Hillary camp, and she ended up leaving. And the same thing happened. Her spokesperson came out and said the same thing. There's still votes to be counted, blah, 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 blah. If you think you have a path to victory, you don't go home.
Trump up 6.4 in Michigan right now.
Yeah.
You see how close Minnesota is?
Yeah. It's really, it's staggering what may happen. And this could be a pretty huge win for him right now. You're looking at the path to victory for Donald Trump. There are several options, and she really only has, I don't really know that she has one, to be honest with you, realistically, because they'll tell you, well, if she was to do this and that. When you look at the breakdown of those states and how many votes have been counted in the states that they're talking about, primarily Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, it's not going to, I don't, there's a huge deficit right now in Michigan, as you point out. And we're looking there and the metro areas. In fact, let me go to back to Wayne County, and they've got about 25% of the votes counted there. In the rest of the state, it's a much higher level of votes being counted. And Wayne County, the Detroit area, very blue. She's winning that so far. Again, only 25% of the votes counted. But I still, as we get further into this, it's just going to be impossible for her to overcome that deficit at some point, unless we see some kind of huge numbers, and that would have to point to turnout. And you have to also keep in mind The fact that Tlaib did not give her endorsement. One of the things that happened this evening, a few hours ago, Frank Luntz reporting that in Dearborn, this is indicative of what's going on, with Tlaib and everything else, and what's going on in the Middle East, and the lack of support for her there in that part of Michigan. It had, at that time, this goes back a few hours, it had Trump leading, and then Jill Stein second, and then Harris third, and Frank Luntz making the case, of course, this does not look good for the Harris campaign.
You also look, for example, at Pennsylvania right now, where Trump was up like 2.6 points, probably about 30 minutes ago, with 93% of the votes, and now up 3.4.
Yeah.
3.3 right now at the moment in Pennsylvania. Trump also leads in Arizona with there's a 53% of the vote in, 49.9 to 49.2. As we just scan down, Wisconsin also Trump up 51.2 to 47.1. So that's with 89% of the vote in, and that's a 4.1 lead. 1% lead.
One of the stories, of course, it was a story a couple of days ago because everybody was laughing at it so hard, is the results in Iowa with 94% of the votes counted, Trump leading by 14 points.
Where's that?
In Iowa.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Right. Yeah,
so to the Des Moines Register and Ms. Seltzer, I'm sorry you were off, but we have to remember on her poll from the other day, her margin of error was 97. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap.
Well,
but it was of course ridiculous when it came out. Her outlier earlier this year that had Trump leading by 18, we called that an outlier.
Right.
We knew that was something was off there.
Well, think about this. We talk about Quinnipiac Beck being the worst rated pollster of 2020. Seltzer, you think about it.
Yeah.
If that holds, it was because I saw it was a 14 points, right? Over 14 points.
14.
For Trump
As of right now.
in Iowa. That means because she had them up by 3, that means she was only off by 17 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that. And you and I talked about the polling out there and wondered, because we don't trust anything anymore. Because as we know, look, when you've got the state of California with no ID, and the Democratic Party on the federal level supporting no voter ID, where the public does roughly the latest polling 84%. You know that if they could cheat, they want to cheat.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the evidence right there. There is no reason not to have voter ID to vote, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The other thing is, just looking here at Texas, where Ted Cruz won, and I think he's between 10 and 11 points ahead. The last that I looked, you had Trump up, was it 14 in Texas?
Yeah. Yep.
So that was never close to begin with.
Actually, New York Times has him up 15. Yeah.
Has
Trump over Harris,
wow.
57 to 42. Yeah.
Wow. All right. And I haven't looked at the latest Cruz. The last I saw, it was between 10 and 11 points. Here's Ted Cruz.
It's 10 points, right now.
Which means, and we talked about this, Trump overperforming.
Actually, that's the case across the country. Outperforming Trump in 2020 and also outperforming the down ballot in many cases.
Yeah, I meant the down ballot is what I was referring to. But let's hear from Ted Cruz from last night.
I want to congratulate Colin Allred on a hard-fought campaign. And I want to say to all of those who didn't support me, you have my word that I will fight for you, for your jobs, for your safety, and for your constitutional rights. But tonight, the people of Texas have spoken. And their message rings clear as a bell across our great state. Texas will remain Texas.
There you go, Ted Cruz last night. And let me just scan there. By the way, if there's a couple of pauses here, it's because we're trying to switch
we have 14 million, roughly 14 million tabs open on each computer. So it could be fewer than that, but I think it looks like 14 million.
And understand, there's a variety of different. For example, I think Real Clear Politics has right now Trump and Vance with 248. I think it was CNN that has him at 252 at the moment, or whatever. So
Right.
there may be some differences depending on what we're using and who's making a particular projection, at any moment. But just very quickly, I just want to go down here to Texas and look at Cruz. Let me see, 9.8, 9.8.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that. There are people think about this. There are people in Texas that voted for Trump that voted for Colin Allred. That shows you how different. I was going to say screwed up. How different of an election this is. But if you look at still right now in every swing state that's left, Trump leads. Just so people know. And let me see. Let me just quickly go back. And when it comes to the Senate, who knows how many the Republicans could pick up right now? They've picked up, projected to win +2, but in Montana, whoa.
Yeah.
Let me just go very quickly back to the Senate map here. At the Senate map, just to give you an indication as to what is going on. Slocum is losing in Michigan with 63% of the vote out to Rogers by, what is it now, 5 points with 63% in. Now, again, that hasn't been called. Tester is losing. Now,
Right.
There's only 29% of the vote in at this moment, but Montana was a landslide, as we know, for Trump. So we'll see what happens there. 70% in, Rosen still leading. I mean, that's by 0.2%. So the Democrat leading there. When you look at Pennsylvania, McCormick is up by almost 2 points over Casey with 92% in. Now, that's not included in the +2, by the way.
Right.
With 52% in, Gallego is leading Kerry Lake 52-46. And as we just go down here, moving further, Baldwin is losing by 2 points, 2.3 points in Wisconsin. And so there's what we have right, at this particular moment. So it's possible the Republicans could pick up 4. Or excuse me, they could pick up a total of 4 or even 5, which would put them to 53 or 54 in the Senate.
Yeah. If they get to, and, we were talking about that we kind of put that 54 number on the top end, pardon me. That could have, now it's, and we've talked about how it's hard to believe Trump doesn't carry the down ballot. But then again, you see, as in Texas, if he's outperforming the down ballot, then there's that possibility they don't pick up as many. But right now, there's a very real path to the Republicans getting as many as 53 or 54 seats in the Senate.
And let me see, you've got at the moment, Real Clear Politics has the Republicans flipping 2 seats right now in the House. CNN, last I checked, had them flipping 3.
3, yeah.
So like I said, there's the difference there. So we have a busy night ahead.
Yeah, we do. It won't apparently include any words from Harris as she's gone home. Again, if you think there's a path to victory, you don't go home. Or if you think it's wrapped up. But that wasn't her on that mic. She sent somebody else out there to that stage to say goodnight.
Has Pennsylvania been called? Pennsylvania. Alan's telling us Pennsylvania.
Okay, Fox News is calling Pennsylvania for Trump. If that holds, it's over. she can't win. There's no path to victory for her. And if she wins Pennsylvania, based on the numbers that are in right now, just looking at Michigan, I just don't see her overcoming that deficit. Someone would have to show me that, the population there. Wayne County, I know they're still very early in the process there. Counting those votes, they were at 25%. The votes counted there in Wayne County, which is Detroit. But there you have it. Fox News calling Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. Wow.
They might have redeemed themselves from their Arizona call.
Yeah. Hey, the Des Moines Register has called California for Jimmy Carter. This just in, breaking news. But they've got, they're reporting 90% of the votes counted there in Pennsylvania. Again, Fox News calling it for Donald Trump. There's no path to victory for her. That's part of the blue wall. Pennsylvania really was the blue wall, the easiest as the. By the way, the New York Times, it's hard to remember what was in our pre-show meeting, what we've done on the air, because we've just been going at it full steam, folks. But the New York Times made the point that the easiest path to victory is if Trump is if he wins Pennsylvania. There are other paths, but the simplest is win Pennsylvania. If that holds, if the New York Times calls Pennsylvania for him, they're going to call the race. That's what that tells me. We'll have more in just a moment. There's so much coming in right now.
866-9 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Cold temperatures and water can lead to only one outcome, and ice has no place in a truck's air system. That's why you must keep your air system moisture-free as the temperatures begin to drop. A simple step toward keeping your air system moisture-free is manually draining the air tanks. You should drain your air tanks more frequently if your vehicle has a high air demand. Moisture that is not removed by the dryer must be manually drained from the tanks. Pay attention to how much water and contaminants drain out. Too much water indicates the air dryer isn't working properly, and too much oil may indicate that the air compressor is worn. Make sure your air system is in top condition before plunging temperatures put it to the test.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Avoid fuel gelling by using Hot Shot Secret EDT Plus Winter Defense 7-in-1 diesel and anti-gel and fuel booster. Available at Pilot Flying J, Amazon, and HotShotSecret.com.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Trump expected to have some words here in the next little bit. We'll have that for you. Now, Fox News reporting that Pennsylvania, they've projected Trump will win Pennsylvania. The New York Times hasn't yet, and neither has the Associated Press. But it probably isn't Fox News jumping the gun on that one.
Yeah, and New York Times just went further. They have their meter thing, but they are saying now it went from just in the last few seconds from likely to very likely Trump wins Pennsylvania.
Okay, and
but the New York Times has not called it yet.
Right. Fox News has, though, which gives him 267.
Yep.
All he needs is Alaska.
Yep.
And he's going to take Alaska.
Right. And again, I'm looking at Michigan and the breakdown of it. I don't see how she overcomes the deficit in Michigan, but we'll see. But if he wins Alaska, if someone calls Alaska, which he's going to win, that's your 270, including when you include Pennsylvania.
from the Uniden America Studios. It's up to the minute election 2024 results all night with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, it might not be all night.
Turn out the lights.
Yeah, it might not be.
The party's over.
I mean, well, yeah, we're still going to give you, because there's Senate races and House races and everything else. And even though it's not even official for Associated Press or the New York Times, Fox News has called Pennsylvania for Trump. 94% of the vote in, Trump up 2.9 by 2.9. But the entire election has been called for Donald Trump by Mark Cuban.
That's when we knew. You said during the break, oh, nope, this is it. It's over.
Mark Cuban, congrats, Donald Trump. You won fair and square. Yeah. Congrats to Elon Musk as well. Yeah. Hashtag Godspeed.
Yeah.
So, again, officially, by the media, though, everything has not been, it's not unanimous that it's been called yet.
By the way, it's the most sane that Mark Cuban sounded in the last few months.
Just reading here,
maybe you got some sleep.
They shut off the TVs at the Harris campaign, as one report.
Yeah. Well, because it's not going to be good. She's gone. She doesn't even come out to say goodnight. She's gone. She's not even at her own watch party to begin with. She never was. It's not like she left her own watch party. She didn't go to it. What does that tell you? To me, that's the equivalent of Hillary canceling the fireworks display. Their internals were showing there's no way for this to happen. This is the miracle you would have to perform based on where we are. And you learn that final weekend, and you keep campaigning, all the way through Monday. You go through the motions. But did you see her anywhere? I didn't see her anywhere tonight. You saw Trump at his watch party. There's a picture that Elon Musk posted. Elon Musk is spending a couple of nights at Mar-a-Lago. Is that officially a sleepover? But there he was making the rounds at his, I guess, backstage at the watch party where the rich people are. And you know that he's there, and we're told he may speak at some point. But it's not maybe they're waiting for a major call on the election or a major media call or a sweeping call. I had told someone the later it got following this throughout the evening. In fact, I told my wife, I said, and I think I had in the pre-show meeting with Alan, I was telling him, I think sometime, probably our time between midnight and 3, there's a decent chance this election is called.
I mean, you guys had
Pennsylvania coming in.
You guys had a pre-show meeting without me?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did. I'm solving all the world's problems. Sorry, man.
You just said I wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Looking here.
Gary won't speak tonight. He'll speak tomorrow. We're turning off all the TVs in the studio.
Looking at the latest here from the swing states.
Yeah.
Trump leads in Pennsylvania 50.9 to 48.0 with 94% of the vote in. In Wisconsin, with 90% of the vote in, Trump leads 51.3 to 47.1 for Harris. Arizona, with 53% of the vote in, Trump leads 50.0 to 49.1. Looking at Nevada, with 72% of the vote in, Trump up 51.2 to 47.2. Excuse me. Alaska not in yet. Did you see any vote from Alaska in?
Yeah, 25. It was last I saw 25 or 26% in.
Okay, because they don't. Real Clear Politics doesn't have it. I'll have to go back to CNN. See who has that because they don't. Let me just let me refresh here. No, they still don't have. They still don't have anything there. So in every single swing state that is left, Trump is in the lead. But as you said, Fox News called Pennsylvania for Trump. No one else has at this moment. Hopefully they're not jumping the gun.
New York Times has Alaska with 28% of the votes counted, 57 for Trump, 57% and 39% for her.
So just to make it simple to everybody out there, all he needs, Pennsylvania puts him to 267, and then you've got Alaska puts them at 270.
Right.
So probably waiting for those to be called at this point, and trying to see if there's anything else here. No, that's what we have here at the moment. And like I said, some of the big news is in the Senate. They could pick up Republicans 4 or 5, even more. There's a possibility they could pick up even more, but they could pick up. You could reasonably say they could pick up 4, which would put them at 53.
Yeah, with 30% of the votes counted, according to the New York Times, Sheehy is leading Tester right now, 51% to 47%. So that would be a pickup there. He's led in all the recent polls. I don't know of one poll that he lost to Tester recently. There was a momentum shift that made it tighter going in, but keep in mind that was the case across the pollsters over the last week or so, which we called bogus on it. Even Nate Silver called bogus last Friday on that, putting the finger on the scales, what he accused some of the pollsters of doing. But you look at that. You look.
Slotkin is down in Michigan.
Yeah.
She's down, the Democrat.
Right.
Nevada, Rosen is now down by 0.1 to Brown in Nevada. She was leading a little while ago. That's with 71% of the vote still in. Let me continue going through here. Only 52% of the vote in Arizona. Gallego leading Lake, 52 to 46. You just have in Pennsylvania now with 93% in the Senate vote. There's 94 in the presidential at Real Clear Politics. McCormick up over Casey, 49.4 to 48.0.
Yeah.
So there's where we are right now on that. Is there anything?
And that's about an 88,000 difference in the number of votes there in Pennsylvania between McCormick and Casey. So pretty, I don't know. It's closer than the presidential races right now. Being again the presidential race being called for Trump by Fox News. I haven't seen
the presidential race.
In Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania, right? Okay, right.
And I haven't seen any. I'm going here through. Haven't seen any other calls on that. So we'll certainly be following that throughout the morning hours. But again, watching the deficit too in Michigan. I don't know how she overcomes the deficit to win Michigan. He's on a pretty strong path right now to win in Michigan.
And Wisconsin, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The other ones might be too close to call at this particular point. I'm just looking at CNN to see if there's any difference. By the way, CNN calls calls it for the Republicans taking the Senate. So
yeah. Right.
And so, trying to see anybody else call Pennsylvania yet.
Haven't seen anybody else call Pennsylvania yet.
Let me just scan quickly here.
But then again, I haven't checked with the Des Moines Register. Maybe I missed something from them.
You're not going to let that one go, are you?
I'm not.
Well, yeah, but that was so obvious, I think, to so many.
It was a joke.
And
it really was.
The excitement that was out there was just...
Well, the 21-point swing from a couple of months ago where he was plus 18 in Iowa, we looked at that and said, okay, hold on. Shave 2/3 or 3/4 of that off. We believe that in Iowa he's probably got a 5-6 point lead. That I buy, maybe even more than that. Just being as conservative as we could be about that, but not 18. And we said, look, if it were the case, we always apply that, a big if. If it were the case, by the way, I have to go back and check
Okay, let me just play this. This is News Nation.
Okay.
Okay. From
All right.
News Nation. Here we go.
Decision Desk HQ can now project that former President Donald Trump will be our next president, the 47th president of the United States. DDHQ projects Trump will win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Having just predicted that he will win Alaska, that will put him at 270, and that will win the Electoral College.
That's Chris Cuomo.
I was going to say, does a Cuomo get uninvited to Thanksgiving for making that call? I'm just asking questions. But you look at the breakdown of it, and again, now it's about the margin. It really is now about how big the margin will be on the victory.
I guess Newsmax also. Let me go to Newsmax here if we can.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if I. Okay, no, I can't get to it here.
Okay, all right.
They're live now. I thought it was something that I could go back on and see it. But they have Newsmax. Trump wins the presidency after Newsmax first projected Donald Trump would win in Pennsylvania, reaching 270 electoral votes to defeat Kamala Harris. The new president-elect will be speaking to supporters at his victory party in Palm Beach.
I'd said on the electoral count, 306, 312, it might come in for Trump. New York Times, their meter, and this can change and when other states, when they call other states, of course, but they've got it right now, the estimate on the Electoral College votes at 306 for Trump. Again, that's the New York Times. It's important to point out the New York Times. They're a little bit slower, but in 2016, and some media groups are, but in 2016, we learned after the election, a few days later, that they were about to call it, and they gave a courtesy call to the Hillary campaign headquarters just to give them the heads up that they were about to call it, and that's when she went home. And her spokesperson came out and said the same thing, basically, that you heard from Harris's campaign spokesperson. That's where we are. Look, if you believe there's a pretty strong path, you're going to stop. You're going to stay, and you're going to thank the people that showed up for you that night.
Just want to report this to Hill.com. Donald Trump wins the presidency for the second time.
There you go.
Completing the improbable comeback. So you've got now the Hill.com, you've got News Nation and Newsmax stating that he's...
Fox News also
Fox
calling
News,
the
Fox
president.
News just projected Trump the 47th president of the United States.
All right. It's over.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
And the funny thing is, I'm on my screen. There's the big screen over there. It's a Fox News. Trump elected 40.
Right.
My mind is so focused on my computer right now. I didn't even see
Trump
that.
wins.
Yeah.
Trump wins. There's a lot of work to be done, but also there's a few minutes for celebration and maybe a sigh of relief that as a nation we've rejected the radicals, at least for now. As we said yesterday, you got to look at it, folks, as tapping the brakes. Unless we do more to stop the radicals and what they're doing, we've got to get back to what we are known for in this nation, and we've always been known for it, and that is the expansion of wealth, lifting everybody up, expanding their buying power, and creating a much better situation. And it's time to get to work on that.
This is interesting. So did Fox call Wisconsin? I think it wasn't Alaska. From Brett Baer, Fox News Decision Desk can now project Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States. A former president's comeback will be complete with the win in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Okay, then.
He is the second president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first, Grover Cleveland.
Yeah.
From Buffalo.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Okay, take a break and we'll be back. Yeah. Thanks, Alan. So, guys, you got a break.
Yeah, we can't even see the clock from here anymore.
866-90-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley. I'm going to go right to you because you just went, wow.
Dow futures up plus 700 points, over 700 points right now. The market reacting to a very likely, and now major media across spectrums are calling this race for Trump.
So far, I've seen Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax, NBC also called Pennsylvania for Trump. So
NASDAQ futures up over 300. And again, the Dow up over 700. When in the pre-show meeting, it was right around 500 and something plus in the Dow futures. But again, the market reacting to what we hope will be, and if he delivers what he's promised and did what he did last time, an improved economy. That's what it comes down to. It's pretty simple math. Less regulation, more profits for companies, greater jobs, greater pay, an expansion of wealth that lifts all Americans. That's what we're looking for.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, this I didn't expect, but you've got Fox News, you've got Newsmax, News Nation, among others that have called the election for Trump. Not just Pennsylvania, but the election. Real Clear Politics has him now at 270. Others have him at 277. Alaska was called for him. That put him at 270. It looks like, you and I looking at Wisconsin and looking at Michigan, every single swing state that's left, he still leads. But the election has been called. Fox News has projected that he will be the 47th president of the United States. What were you looking at the New York Times?
Yeah, Masha Gessen is one of the reporters. They've been doing basically live updates on a thread there at New York Times. And here's the quote from a little while ago. I think we need to rethink our framing of our political predicament. We've been talking about a highly polarized country, about two Americas, about a race that appeared to be a dead heat. But what strikes me about what we know so far is that Trump not only may get an electoral college landslide, he seems to have picked up votes everywhere, including every borough of New York City. So we may need to stop thinking about a country that's split down the middle and start trying to understand this country as being dominated by Trumpian politics, or perhaps more accurately, a Trumpian effect. This sounds, by the way, reminiscent of 2016 when they said after the election during the transition period there, during the interim period between election and inauguration day, they said, well, maybe, at the New York Times, maybe we need to go to these flyover states, have a greater understanding. That's what they did then. Then they came back from their 3-martini lunch and their 4 tequila shot breakfast and realized we're not going to do that.
Let's go. I want to go to CNN because it sort of relates. Jake Tapper and John King talking about Harris and that she did not overperform Joe Biden in any county by more than 3%. Here we go.
Yeah.
Again, underperforming the president in places. So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
By 3% or more.
There you go. Mm-hmm. You can see how shocked they are.
What? Yeah. All right. Well, again, that's kind of reminiscent of 2016, too. I think it was a little bit earlier in the evening. Look, in 2016, they really believed that Hillary was going to win. They really thought she was going to win. I think a lot of liberals, including liberal activist media, didn't quite buy fully into these polls that were shifting a little more and getting tighter in recent days. I think they knew.
CNN now has Trump at 270.
Yeah.
Even though others have called the race, and I don't see how, even by CNN or the New York Times, whatever, I don't know if they just want to hold back because of, I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't know. The same reason.
Hope.
I guess.
Hope that it will change.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it. I just want to go back quickly, see if anything has changed in Michigan and Wisconsin, and it really hasn't. 73% of the vote in Michigan, Trump up 52.3 to 45.9, and Wisconsin with 92% in, Trump up 51.2 to 47.2. Who was it? Did Fox actually call Wisconsin? Because they made it seem like, Brett Baer made it seem like he's taking Wisconsin in his tweet. He didn't say they called it, but he was making the case that it's, that it's unusual that Trump, took Wisconsin is the point I think that he was trying to make.
Yeah, I didn't see them call it, so I don't know. I don't know what Brett Baer was, what point he was trying to make on that. I haven't seen, in fact, anybody call Wisconsin. But then, if now again, if everything holds, it's not about the win. Is being called wider and wider now, but it's about the margin. And you look at the deficit again in Wisconsin, the deficit that she has, that Harris has in Wisconsin and in Michigan, and those would be hard to overcome.
Well, it looks like that at the moment. Oh, Fox News did call for Wisconsin. Okay. All right. They did
Thank
call
you,
for
Alan.
I just wanted to make sure if that was an official call, which is why they're at 277, right?
Yep.
Or is that what they have?
Trump projected to beat Harris in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Well, so there you have it.
But, you talked about the one that was it the New York Times you were reading to me off the air?
Right.
Did you read that on the air?
Yeah, the statement about improving his
the
his
Trumpian
performance in every
thing,
borough
the
in New
Trumpian.
York, and
well, they call it again the landslide because as of right now, every swing state has gone to Trump.
Yeah,
and everyone that's left has gone to Trump. When you think about this, look at Minnesota. Isn't this really incredible? I mean, Minnesota's leading for Harris, 50.3 to Trump, 47.3. That's where Walz is from.
Yeah.
Minnesota?
I know. I've been watching that all night.
Yeah,
but
you just see that you go, well, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense.
I'm wondering how many people in Minnesota are learning who their governor is.
And Fox News calling Wisconsin when you see 51.2 to 47.2.
Yeah.
Well, that's 4 points.
Yeah, and at some point the math in Michigan is again, I don't have everything in front of me, but I'm looking at it and it looks inevitable that he will win Michigan as well. So if that's the case, he takes Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Wow. Nevada having some issues on counting some votes. Clearly, he doesn't need Nevada, but it will be interesting to see where Nevada goes. Arizona right now, leaning Trump. Nobody has called it.
MSNBC. Well, if NBC called Pennsylvania for Trump, then MSNBC would.
Yeah, right.
Or the same animal.
Or they tell their parent company to go pound sand. No, we're not calling it. We're the same company. We don't care. We got to let Joe Scarborough do it in the morning with tears. Hey, what's it taste like to have tears in your coffee in your morning, Joe? What's that like?
Reading here from Frank Luntz, Kamala Harris lost this election when she pivoted to focus almost exclusively on attacking Donald Trump. Voters, this is what we said, voters already knew and know everything there is to know about Trump.
Exactly.
But they still wanted to know more about Harris's plan for the first hour, first day, first month, and first year.
Yeah.
And let me just get it here. First month and first year of her administration, it was a colossal failure for her campaign to shine the spotlight on Trump more than Harris's own ideas. Well, we had said that, especially when reality has finally hit to the American public. Inflation hit, the border hit Americans. Understand, though, that even if Trump wins the popular vote, which right now he's winning the popular vote,
right,
that you still have, 47% of Americans that believe in open borders.
Right, yeah.
That, believe in the insanity of the radical transgender movement, the misogyny, that still endorse the racism of identity politics. Understand that hasn't gone away. The fight, this is draft, as I've always called it in the past, this is draft day. Is what it is.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or
this
maybe
is where
not,
the work begins.
Maybe not draft because Trump hasn't been drafted. It's maybe a trade.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And so
the changing of the coaches.
Bringing back the old coach.
Exactly.
So there's still, when you think, but it's still amazing the shift that has happened, because the shift of Trump, if he wins the popular vote, and it looks like the New York Times projected he would win the popular vote. Was that a projection that they made?
It wasn't a projection.
Okay.
Someone had posted that on social media that the New York Times was projecting he would win the popular vote. I haven't seen that anywhere at the New York Times, and maybe I missed it. Maybe there was a reporter, but the New York Times officially hasn't done that. The Hill, by the way, has called Wisconsin for Trump. So there you have it. This map becomes more and more red. And again, I don't see the math. We're talking in Michigan, by my count, 260,000 some odd votes. That's the deficit she has versus against Trump, and she'd have to overcome that. So we'll see if Michigan is called by any of the media groups over the next couple of hours. But now, I mean, you have it now. In fact, the Hill calling the presidential race too for Trump. They have him at 280 so far on the electoral college count and electoral vote count. And that's, wow, very interesting. They've got him, and again, not all the votes are in. So, but they've got him leading her in the overall votes. Where are we? Hold on. They just refreshed their page. Sorry about that. Leading her by 5 million. Almost 5 million.
Yeah, we'll get to
but
it.
It's, it's not.
We'll get to it later on, but I was just scanning, and it's like Lawrence O'Donnell saying the Electoral College has to go. Well, if he wins the popular vote, you don't have
a say. What's your argument going to be?
Right, you don't have an argument at this point. You don't have an argument at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm just looking here. Let me see. What do they have here? 6 minutes ago, the odds for winning, the Republicans winning, keeping the House, 65.7% to Democrats, 34.3%. We'll be looking at some of the Senate races too coming up here, because it's the Republicans, have won the Senate. How much will they win the Senate by? Will they win? Right. Will they win Michigan? Will they win Wisconsin? Will they win? Who else am I forgetting there? Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Montana on it. I mean, there's still a possibility of winning 4 or 5 more Senate seats.
Right.
Which, would get you at that point to 53-54, which is huge.
Right.
So this is a few minutes ago. This is when this is supporters at the Trump campaign when Fox News called the race for Trump.
Right.
4 years ago, he is now the second president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first was Grover Cleveland in the late 1800s. Senator J.D. Vance will become the 50th vice president of the United States. Voters expressed deep frustration with the Biden administration, and former President Trump and the future President Trump overperformed in urban areas, particularly with men, proving that the strategy that they've doubled and tripled down on over the course of the last few months absolutely succeeded and brought him back to the White House.
47th President of the United States, former President Trump now defeats Vice President Kamala Harris, who entered this race just over 100 days ago.
Yeah.
You think about it. I was just going through X here and just saw Ben Shapiro where he says Donald Trump occupied the positional center of this race, which we've always said he's not a radical. He's a moderate.
Right. Well, I mean, that's exactly it.
And all the things that he believes have been in the mainstream of Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
Everything.
Yep.
There isn't anything that he believes that is viewed as radical from the position of any issues that Americans have held.
Well, remember, there were a lot of Democrats in 2020 that thought Joe Biden was a moderate. They were calling him that.
Mm-hmm.
Even as he was campaigning, saying, if Trump deported you from this country, we want you back. We want you to come back. He was saying that during his campaign. And by the way, he made good on that promise.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Leased owner-operators should be aware of 4 common revenue myths, lest you fall into the trap of mistaking revenue for profit. Myth 1, concentrate on increasing revenue because costs will take care of themselves. This is not true, as costs are fundamental to the profit equation and the area where owners exert the most control to improve. Myth 2, more revenue per mile is the answer to all problems. Though carrier pay packages differ in structure, revenue per mile really doesn't change much from company to company. But there can be a big difference in miles, overall gross revenue, reimbursements, and fees. Myth 3, all you have to do to be successful is run a lot of miles. In reality, revenue is only half of the profit equation. Costs are the other half. It's possible to generate a lot of revenue, yet spend $1.10 to make every dollar. Myth 4, you can tell how well you're doing by the size of your settlement check. The settlement check is only a part of the success picture. Miles driven, loads hauled, conditions, mechanical problems, time off, and especially costs all have to be considered. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Here's the next president of the United States speaking in Florida.
From the leagues of Minnesota. Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American
And we will have
people.
more. In fact, we will have the complete speech in its entirety coming up here. 866-90 Red Eye.
Stay with us all night for up-to-the-minute election 2024 results with Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric. I'm Gary. Right back to West Palm Beach and the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Ushabez. And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp. And you know, the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fine. He's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it. And then he just goes in and absolutely obliterates them. Say a couple of words here.
Wow. Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
Thank you very much. He's turned out to be a good choice. I took a little heat at the beginning, but he was, I knew the brain was a good one, about as good as it gets. And we love the family, and we're going to have a great 4 years, and we're going to turn our country around, make it something very special. It lost that little thing called special. We have to make it so. We're going to make this so great. It's the greatest country and potentially the greatest country in the world by far. And right now we're going to just work very hard to get all of that back. We're going to make it the best it's ever been. We can do that. If we had to wait longer, I don't know. It was going bad, and it was going bad fast. We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country. We want people to come back in, but we have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come, Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, Susie. You want me to say something?
This wasn't expected, but I just want to thank, obviously, President Trump for this journey. It was a great one, and he's a hell of a candidate, and he's going to be a hell of a great 47th president. And this team that we had, the best team, and, of course, even my boss, Susie Wiles, the best. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Susie. Look at her, she's shy. I've never seen her be shy before. Susie. They're great. Everybody up here is great. Everybody up here is very special. But the Trump, who did you say? Oh, let me tell you, we have a new star. A star is born, Elon. Now he is. Now he's an amazing guy. We were sitting together tonight. You know, he spent 2 weeks in Philadelphia and different parts of Pennsylvania campaigning. You know, he sent the rocket up 2 weeks ago, and I saw that rocket, and I saw it coming down. I saw it. It was, when it left, it was beautiful, shiny white. When it came down, it didn't look so pretty. It was going 10,000 miles an hour, and it was burning like hell. I said, what happened to your paint job? He said, we've never made a paint that could withstand that kind of heat. And but I saw it come down and turn around. And it was, you know, it's like 22 stories tall, by the way. It looks a little smaller than that, but it's big. And it came down, and you saw that fire burning. And I'm saying, only Elon can do this. It must be an Elon. And I tell the story. I told it last night. I had a man on the phone. I had the screen muted, no sound. I was talking to a very important man, happens to be here. And that very important guy, one of the most important people in, I would say, the country, actually. But, you know, I was president, and now it looks like I was going to be maybe president again, so I figured I could ask him to hold. So I asked him to hold. And especially because you're going to be president again, they hold. So I took the phone down, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm seeing this crazy thing that's going around and coming down. It looks like it's going to crash into the gantry. And I said, oh, no. And I said, do me a favor, do you mind holding for a couple of minutes? I want to see this. I thought it was a space-age movie or something. I put the phone down. Bad part, I didn't pick it up for 45 minutes, and he was holding. But this spaceship came down, and I saw those engines firing, and it looked like it was over. It was going to smash. And then I saw the fire pour out from the left side, and I put it straight. And it came down so gently, and then it wrapped those arms around it, and it held it. And just like you hold your baby at night, your little baby. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And I called Elon. I said, Elon, was that you? He said, yes, it was. I said, who else can do that? Can Russia do it? No. Can China do it? No. Can the United States do it other than you? No, nobody can do that. I said, that's why I love you, Elon. That's great. And you know, when we had the tragic Hurricane Helene, and it hit North Carolina, they were really devastated, the water. This was a big water, as big as we've ever seen, water hurricane. It built lakes out of nothing. Fields became lakes, and the danger was unbelievable. And the people from North Carolina came to me and they said, would it be possible, at all possible, for you to speak to Elon Musk? We need Starlink. I said, what's Starlink? It's a form of communication. So I called Elon, and I'll tell you what, he had, and it was very dangerous. People would die. They had no communication. All the wires were down. I called Elon Musk. I said, Elon, you have something called Starlink. Is that right? Yes, I do. What the hell is it? He said, it's a communication system that's very good. I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast. It was incredible. So, and it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. We have to protect our super geniuses. I want to thank some of the guys. You know, we have up here today the U.S. Open champion. He's a fantastic golfer. He's slightly longer than me. It's a little bit longer than me. Just a little bit. Bryson DeChambeau is up here someplace. What happened to Bryson? Where is he? Bryson. Oh, he was shot. He's hitting balls. Oh, he's on the way. He's hitting balls. Bryson. Oh, look at him. He's got a great career going. Great U.S. Open, Bryson. That's a fantastic job. And we also have a man, Dana White, who has done some job. He's a tough guy. So Dana started UFC and came to me, do you mind if I use your... Nobody wanted to give him a rinse because they said it's a rough sport, a little rough. And I helped him out a little bit, and I went, and I said, this is the roughest sport I've ever seen, but I began to like it, and he loved it, and nobody's done a better job in sports. And you know, he's a very motivational kind of a guy, what he does. He gets these fighters, and they really go at it, and it's become one of the most successful sports enterprises anywhere at any time. It's doing so well. I'd like to ask Dana just to say a couple of words, because people love to hear from him. Dana, please.
Nobody deserves this more than him, and nobody deserves this more than his family does. This is what happens when the machine comes after you. What you've seen over the last several years, this is what it looks like. Couldn't stop him. He keeps going forward. He doesn't quit. He's the most resilient, hard-working man I've ever met in my life. His family are incredible people. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. He deserves this. They deserve it as a family. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, busting with the boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan. And thank you, America. Thank you. Have a good night.
That is a piece of work. No, he's really an amazing guy. But most of all, I want to thank the millions of hardworking Americans across the nation who have always been the heart and soul of this really great movement. We've been through so much together, and today you showed up in record numbers to deliver a victory like like no other. This was something special, and we're gonna pay you back. We're gonna do the best job. We're gonna turn it around. It's got to be turned around. It's got to be turned around fast, and we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna do it in every way, with so many ways, but we're gonna do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. So I just want to say that on behalf of this great group of people, these are hard-working people. These are fantastic people, and we can add a few names like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He came and he's going to help make America healthy again.
And that's, incoming President Donald Trump at his victory speech in West Palm Beach. And I'll let you know that Eric looked at me when Dana was talking and said, you just want to be careful. He might throw an F-bomb in there somewhere.
Let's have Alan get his delay button finger warmed up there. But thank goodness he was on point, clearly very excited about the win. I think a lot of people are, including me. Also relieved, anxious to see, as we have been talking about, this is the time you get to work clearly tonight and the next few days. there's time for celebration, but it is about getting to work. I really believe Donald Trump is up to that. The Republican Party needs to know at this time around there needs to be a consensus. America has spoken, and these numbers right now, the way they're going, show that they want the Republican Party to get to work. So if they hold the House and they have the Senate and gain even a couple of more seats in the Senate, 53, maybe even 54 seats in the Senate for the GOP, it is time to get to work.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, you had Fox News and others in the media project that Trump is going to win the presidency. We just played his victory speech. We will be looking at the numbers when it comes to because Trump still leads, even though he has projected. Let me see, Fox News 277 electoral votes. He still leads in every single swing state. And that means that there's a possibility of another 4, and every Republican senator in those swing states is leading, which we could pick up another 3 to 4 possible Senate seats, which could get us as high as 54. So we'll keep you updated on that. See some of the response from the left, which of course is not surprising, and it's going to get worse. We'll project out now what a Trump presidency will mean, where we're going to go as a country, and a whole bunch more. Plus, your calls and comments if you want to get in. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This from the incoming president, Donald Trump, at his victory speech last night.
And many people, I said, this is our last rally. But now we're going on to something that's far more important, because the rallies were used for us to be put in this position where we can really help our country. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world.
That's the incoming president. It's interesting because you read to me what the New York Times said.
I forgot what I read to you. Which part of it I read?
The part where you were reading that Trump gave his victory speech before he's won the election.
Oh yeah. Let me go because I'm bouncing around here. Apologize.
Oh, I know. No, believe me. I understand. If you're sitting where we're sitting, I understand that completely. You've got 10 windows open trying to figure out especially right now looking at the different Senate races out there. And this is because, for example, Fox News has projected he's going to win. You've had News Nation, which I believe was the first network to do it, Chris Cuomo actually saying it, which is there's some irony in there. But then you mentioned to me the New York Times said that and then said there is no path to victory once they announce for Harris once they announce Pennsylvania.
Yeah, because the New York Times has been doing the live updates. It's basically a thread on their website from reporters, and one of the reporters earlier made the case that if Trump wins Pennsylvania, there are other ways for him to get to 270, but if he wins Pennsylvania, that's the simplest. That's the straightest point to victory. And essentially, he would win if he wins Pennsylvania. And then here's this other sub-headline on the left. He celebrates win before results are final. Well, you mean before we wait 10 weeks for Arizona to get it all in? But
that was the interesting point. They pointed out there is no path for her.
Yeah, they pointed out
if they win Pennsylvania,
right.
They've called Pennsylvania
now,
for her.
I mean, it is a reporter saying that, but the reporter's doing the math that anybody else there at the New York Times can do. There is no way now for her to get to 270. There's no path to victory for her.
And I want to update what I said because I was quickly before the top of the hour was looking at the Senate races. I said a possibility of 4 or 5, or what 3 or 4, and you're saying there's actually 5.
Well,
with Nevada,
right? I mean, if you look at Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, all right, then you look at Montana, so there's 4, and then Nevada. It looks like Gallego would take. I mean, if he holds the lead he has now, and this would be similar to the lead he had in polls, he's going to win over Kerry Lake, which will, be a great underperformance, I think, for a Republican in that state. But if you look at the leads right now in the Senate races in Nevada, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, then that count is 5. So my question is it possible we could see the GOP with 56 seats? I don't want to count any chickens before they hatch. I don't want to celebrate the win before the results are final, New York Times, but just asking a question. Wow.
81% in Michigan in, Trump up by almost 8. He's up 7.8 points in Michigan. With 81% of the vote in.
Yeah, and Mike Rogers is ahead right now with on the Senate count, there's only 70. Well, this is the New York Times, says 77% of the votes are in. And in that Senate race there in Michigan, Mike Rogers is ahead by 5 points, 5 percentage points, 51% over Slotkin's 46%. And then you look at Wisconsin right now. Hovde is leading Baldwin by a couple of points there, and this could change. I mean, again, those results aren't in, and let's see how much of the they've got the majority of the votes in there in Wisconsin in terms of the Senate race. Montana's still a bit slow, according to the New York Times, 46% of the votes counted so far in the Senate race. But Sheehy leading by 4 points, 51-47 over Tester. And then you go out to Nevada. And you have Sam Brown, the Republican there, leading by just 1 point, not even a full point right now, over Jackie Rosen, the Democrat, the incumbent. And we'll see where that comes out, because, you get into the blue counties, especially Clark County, that's Las Vegas, the biggest county in terms of population. And Rosen right there. What's interesting, Rosen only has a 6-point lead so far with 79% of the votes in Clark County, again, Las Vegas. Only leads by 6 points. I mean, that's a hefty lead, but That's a very blue county, has been forever. And only leads, Jackie Rosen only leads in Washoe County. That would be Reno, right? Out west, it borders California. 49 to 46 over Sam Brown. Those are your two big blue spots there in Nevada. So we'll see where it comes out. But I think most are looking at the projection here that at least maybe a couple of more seats going to the GOP. My question is, though, again, is there a path? Is there any belief that there's a path to more than 53 seats, 54 seats? Could they get to 56? That's a bit of a stretch even saying it, I think. But then again, look at what we have seen tonight. Look at what we have seen.
If you would have told me that at any point, because right now Trump on the popular vote leads by 5.2 million votes.
Yeah.
That's
that's insane.
That's insane. I mean, that the fact that, I mean, you look at this and you had, let me see if I can find it very quickly here. I think I have it because I want to play what J.D. Vance said last night at the victory speech.
Okay. All right.
Here it is.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
I've said that a number of times. If Trump wins, this will be the biggest political comeback in the history of the United States. You're living in historic times. No matter where you stand here, this is a historic moment. When you think of everything that has been thrown at Trump, by the way, I think on the felony counts, the sentencing is set for like November 26th.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's all going to be thrown out. I mean, that's such a horrible case, and that will go through the federal courts. That would be thrown out anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's just when you think of everything that has happened just in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
When you think of it, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. It really, really is. When you think about it, it's like, wow. I mean, there are still the things you look at and you say, how could still, if she has 47%, how could 47% of voters, if that's where it ends up, how could they embrace the insanity of what the Democrats are promoting?
Right.
The absolute insanity.
Yeah.
And that's always a challenge. But when you look at modern American politics, and you're going to people just vote blue, like people will vote red no matter what.
Sure.
But to see the swing states the way that they are, that right now every single swing state is expected to go to Trump.
Yeah.
Right. Right now we'll go to Trump, which, by the way, would mean Atlas Intel was completely accurate again.
Yeah.
The pollster.
Right.
It really is. It is a historic moment, and it'll be interesting to see where both the Republicans go from here and where the Democrats go. And I was reading from a CEO who voted for Harris, and he said, look, I voted for Harris. I saw it on X a little while ago. He goes, I voted for Harris, but if the Democrats' lesson from this is that half the country is sexist, misogynist, racist, everything else, he goes, that's the wrong message to take.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's typical for whatever team loses to look back and go, okay, what did we do wrong? Because I'm thinking all of them looking at Alvin, calling Alvin Bragg in the morning. Dude, look what you did. You created a martyr. But it's not just Alvin Bragg. We saw the turn. The real momentum for Trump started to gain steam. He had built-in momentum with his base being there all along. But then you saw right around mid-February, the polls really started to work more and more in his favor, more and more in his favor, more and more in his favor. And that momentum was there. That was on the issues. That was before 2 assassination attempts. It was before the conviction by the jury in Alvin Bragg. That was on the issues. I think it was also on the weaponization of the DOJ, and I think it was also on, a number of things that they were throwing at him along the way. But on the issues of inflation, the broken border, these major issues, again, that really shake the foundation of our instinct in terms of survival. We want to feel safe. We want to feel prosperous like we should in a country like ours, and the government gets in the way. We want all of these things returned to us and get back to doing what we do best. And when those polls started to shift, you started, again, it just shaped up to be what we were seeing, what we were going to see, I guess, all along. And it's a loud message. The Democrats got it wrong because of what they have done, what they broke, that they can't possibly fix. You can't set a fire and then run around, to the other side and grab the water hose and say, we're going to put this out. We don't know who started this fire. Yeah, you do. Absolutely do. And that's where we are as a nation. I mean, it's right now, as of right now, this is tapping the brakes. There's so much more work to be done. As a nation, we have to keep making the choices to get us back on track. We made choices. These were all choices that got us to the point that we're at during the Biden-Harris administration. And those choices were rejected tonight, and we must keep rejecting those choices. We insist on making the right choices, but that has to happen consistently for a long time.
When you look at the map right now, because I saw Jake Tapper said when Trump was out there, no major media organization has called it for Trump. Why is he speaking now? And somebody said, Fox is a major media organization. But really the first one we saw was News Nation with Chris Cuomo doing it. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it, they come to the conclusion that he's going to win Wisconsin. He's going to win Wisconsin. In fact, this is really interesting because Fox News has him at 277. All right, with winning Wisconsin, and they don't have him winning Alaska yet, even though RCP has, said he's going to win Alaska. With the vote total already in, he's expected to win Alaska, which would be, mean 280 at that point. But it's interesting that they call Wisconsin but not Alaska.
Yeah,
where
right.
RCP calls, and I don't know what they're looking at, because in order to call a state, what you look at, you say, okay, how many total of the mail-in ballots, whatever, came in, right? What might not be counted, right. And you look at the results and the amount at that time. It's not tough to project a winner,
right?
So why hasn't? I mean, that's what's going on X right now. Why hasn't Associated Press, New York Times, Washington Post, New York Times, who wrote that if he wins Pennsylvania, and they've said and they've given him Pennsylvania, right? New York Times.
Yes,
right.
They have. Yes,
there is no path to victory for Harris.
Right.
So why wouldn't they project him as the winner at that point?
Right.
Spite.
Exactly.
I'm throwing that out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The other interesting thing is, and we're going to be talking about this throughout the days, is the polling out there. Mm-hmm. The Seltzer poll that came out the other day that they all got excited by. She's winning Iowa by 3. Well, she lost by at least 14.5 there. 14, which means the Seltzer poll was off. 17.5 points.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. Yeah, horrible.
Right. No wonder we never got the crosstabs.
Well,
the demographic
it's
makeup.
Exactly what we said. When you say something like, well, I didn't want to be more transparent because there would be too many questions. Oh, really? Well, now I've got even more questions for you.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Fox News and others projecting Trump as the next president of the United States.
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
That's Donald Trump about an hour ago at his victory speech. I did mention that Jake Tapper said, well, no major media outlet has said he is, projected that he's won. It's like, oh, you forgot Fox. News Nation may not be considered a major, but they're the first ones I saw on the TV side that did it. I'm expecting now, this shows you the totalitarianism, the authoritarianism of Donald Trump, because he announced that he was president before the results were fully in.
That's where they're going to go with it.
I know.
From the Uniden America Studios, it's up to the minute election 2024 results all night with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Here's Trump just a little over an hour ago.
But we're going to do it in every way. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country.
And looking here, just reading from pollster Frank Luntz, what's being lost in the Trump victory is just how extraordinarily well Republicans have done in the Senate races. It now looks like the Republicans could end up with 54 seats in the House, perhaps even 55. It's interesting because you were looking at some of the numbers in Michigan, where Trump still leads in Michigan.
Yeah.
A ton of Wayne County votes have not yet been tabulated, which would be her path to victory in Michigan. But you just told me that the New York Times now has Wisconsin leaning Republican.
On their meter, actually likely Republican, for Wisconsin, leaning Republican over in Michigan. And I had mentioned this the other day. I had been crunching some numbers a few days ago and talking about a scenario where I said, it's possible he wins Wisconsin and doesn't win Michigan. Now, you look at Detroit, which is Wayne County, big population, and according to the New York Times, roughly 34% of the votes counted. Based on the numbers and the deficit she would have to overcome for the state, I mean, she could pull out a squeaker in Michigan. But it would have to be a huge turnaround, and we'll see where that goes. I was saying earlier, I don't see how she overcomes that deficit. I get the feeling she won't, but there is a path there mathematically where we are in the count. Over in Wisconsin, you start to break it down, And you see Milwaukee County and Madison County, or Dane County, rather, and Milwaukee County, two big blue areas there. But they both have the majority of votes counted, and Kamala is leading in those areas. There are blue areas, but is it enough on the state level? Is it enough to overcome the deficit? Likely no. And so because the majority of those have been counted there, and so it'll be interesting to watch both of those states. Look, it appears by all accounts here that the calls made for Trump to win here, that he gets to at least 270. I think he gets to 306, maybe 312.
Well, just
but
so
there is possibility here.
Just so people know, Real Clear Politics has him at 270.
Yep.
You've got Fox News with him at 277, which is why they called the election for him, as did, I don't know the exact electoral count from, what is it? I can't think of it. Not Newsmax, the other one, where Chris Cuomo won.
News Nation?
News Nation, where News Nation also said that he's won. Now, the New York Times did say that once he won Pennsylvania, there is no path, for her, which is why I think Fox, and also Fox gave him Wisconsin also, which is where we're at now.
And also, I would have to get into real number crunching, which might take 24, 48 hours if I didn't sleep, on other counties in Michigan that I didn't account for. I was looking, because we always look at Wayne County, and for some reason it's like they don't even start counting Wayne County until everybody else is done in the state. It's been that way for a while, but when you look at it, it's a huge population. It's the largest, metro area there. So when you get out to those redder areas, if I were to do the math there, it's, it might turn out that deficit is too great. Here's where they have it on their meter at the New York Times. In terms of the chance of the victory, very likely, greater than 95% chance that he wins.
That's overall.
Overall.
Okay, right.
And they have on the Electoral College estimate 312 right now, and that's up from earlier. About an hour and a half ago, they had it at 306. I've been saying 306, 312 by the count that I had, and I'm going to stick with that because in Michigan, again, there are no 100% of the votes counted in those red areas. And so, again, that deficit just looks impossible the more you look at it for her to overcome. Because if you're just counting Wayne County, then there's some math there. But then you have to account for those redder areas that aren't to 100% yet. There's some of them are at 85%, 89% of the votes counted. And so, again, it seems less likely she could overcome that deficit there. So, again, that possibility of a sweep of the battlegrounds by Donald Trump. And then you look at what Frank Luntz is saying here. If the GOP takes the Senate, 54, if they get 54 seats, that's unreal.
I'm looking at CBS News here, and they have it could take days to see the full presidential election results in battleground states, Arizona and Nevada, depending on how thin the margins are, said CBS News election law contributor David Becker.
Yeah.
In Arizona, there are up to 800,000 ballots still to process, and in Nevada, mail-in ballots are still needed to be processed. Well, you have, for example, Fox News call Wisconsin already. If Wisconsin's in, then it doesn't matter what happens in Arizona and Nevada, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Make sure I have that correct.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there would be no path for her at that point. So I'm curious to see now what that margin is going to be. I mean, in terms of the overall win. who was it that had? It was Rasmussen that had him winning the popular vote by 3 points.
I think Atlas Intel had him winning by 3.
I thought they had 1, and Rasmussen had 3.
Okay, I just don't have it with me. I don't.
But if he wins the popular vote and sweeps the battleground states, wow, that's as close to a mandate as you would get. That is as close to landslide as you're going to get in 2024 with the liberal activist media doing what they do. But, again, that thought by the one New York Times reporter, maybe it's time we relook and, revisit we think about it in a different way. It's like, okay, you guys have done this before. I don't expect anything less than the radical left and the liberal activist media regrouping after a couple days, and then they're going to go full on. It's going to be the second term for Donald Trump is going to be a lot like the first one in terms of their behavior. Now, the difference is with him performing the way these numbers are coming in. People aren't going to tolerate that. These are your customers out there. And we know that they don't, the activists in the newsrooms don't care. But people like Jeff Bezos, who own the operation and look at the bottom line, understand these are the American people. They decide what they're going to tolerate in terms of that kind of behavior. And we'll see what they do. Or get away
here's
with.
A question that I have. With, you saw that Prop 1 in New York passed. I just wonder I wonder whether in the future they'll want to carve out an exemption for the gender stuff, for the radical transgender movement. Because once that starts happening, if that's the place to go, if you have these liberal states where it's like, okay, open now for men to play in women's sports and do that, and they did that based on the fact of this is the thing to codify abortion in New York State. But if you have the major liberal states that say, okay, we're not going to have, or, abortion is legal here.
Yeah.
When you see states, the other states out there where abortion was not an issue, I guess my point is, if the states, the major blue states, say okay to abortion on the state level.
Yeah.
And you see that abortion was not a big issue anywhere else. Wasn't a driving issue. Where do the Democrats go at that point? What is the issue that Democrats can lean on if abortion is no longer an issue because the major blue states that have a ton of votes have already said, okay, abortion's going to be legal here, and the other states have restrictions.
Right.
It becomes, as every year goes by, it becomes less and less of an issue.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the driving issue at all in this election. And one of the reasons I picked this up is because that's all what MSNBC is going crazy about.
Yeah, the New York Times, too,
yeah.
By the way, in recent, over the last hour or so.
And it's like, yeah, but is it even, and if that is no longer, or if it's no longer a major issue, which is not, it's not as major as it was before.
Or a national issue, it's more of a state issue or something,
exactly.
Yeah.
Then what issue do the Democrats have? Tell me one issue that they have.
In a general election, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, the thing of demonizing the rich need to pay their fair share. Corporations need to pay their fair share. I mean, they've run out of the steam. The fuel is gone. Just like with Trump coming into this election cycle, he was a known quantity. And then you add, of course, all the issues and everything that's broken, that the Democrats broke, which means they can't fix. Then it points to a Trump victory. And that's what we're seeing play out here. And, but all of those things with, taxing the rich and all of those are old playbook things that don't resonate with people anymore. They just don't. It's priced in, and it doesn't move any needles. I don't think you can revisit those things and regain momentum. By the way, it was the national polls. Rasmussen Reports had Trump +3, and Atlas Intel on national had Trump +1. I'm really anxious to see
cool,
where that is, and where that lines out. But I don't know what their issue would be. I mean, unless they go back to hey, we need because this is what would be interesting here is something that Trump has brought up, because when his daughter was advising him in his first term, this discussion was being had. It never really made it to Capitol Hill or it came to fruition, but it might in the second term, maybe, when they talked about a child care tax credit, right? So basically giving you a tax credit for what you pay in child care.
Yeah, but Trump's already, that's already part of the Republican Party now. And
well,
Trump
you're
has
talking
talked
about the child tax credit, child care tax credit. What you pay for child care. That's a new one they haven't floated yet. But the reason I bring it up is because that's where you could get bipartisan support if Trump were to revisit that and bring it back up again. It's one of his daughter's core tenets. I don't know how active she will be. I don't know what the Republicans, the party, how receptive they would be to that.
Here's the headline from CNN. Trump on the brink of a White House return.
Yeah, they just can't do it, can they?
Yep. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just saw on X at Decision, what do they call it? Decision Desk headquarters have said Nevada's been flipped. Nobody else has said that at this point, including Fox.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but Fox doesn't have Alaska yet, which just what are they looking at in Alaska?
I don't know.
But Fox at 277. You've got Real Clear Politics 270. CNN says 266. New York Times has not called it, but said that if Trump wins Pennsylvania, which he did win Pennsylvania, there is no path for her, and that's why Fox is saying that he's won, and that's why they had the victory speech already.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. We brought to you earlier, probably, an hour and a half ago?
Yeah.
Where Fox News projected Donald Trump to win. News Nation projected Donald Trump to win. Nobody else has, as of yet. Trump held his victory party already. We don't see the path for Harris at all.
No.
And even the New York Times pointed out that once he won Pennsylvania, there is no path to victory for her. I look, for example, at Wisconsin, 96% of the vote in, and he's up by 3.4
Yeah.
in Wisconsin. Fox News has called Wisconsin. That's what gets them to 277.
Yep.
And it's like, what? What's the difference between Fox calling Wisconsin and the others have not? Now, I'll say this. News Nation was the first one that I saw. Chris Cuomo announcing that News Nation said that Trump is projected to win the presidency, which was really interesting, seeing that came from Chris Cuomo.
Yeah.
But, we don't see, I don't see her path to victory at all, especially when you see, for example, that, Real Clear Politics is at 270, and I don't believe, do they have Alaska?
RCP,
does
hold on.
RCP have Alaska?
Yeah.
Okay, they do have Alaska.
Yeah,
okay,
they do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so basically they have that, but they don't have Wisconsin.
Right.
They have Pennsylvania and Alaska, which gets him to 270. There's not a path for her to get to 270. There isn't. So it's not going to happen, especially with Wisconsin very likely going to him. Fox News already calling it, as you just mentioned, and doing, some of the simple numbers. That deficit right there, because of where they are in the vote count right now, how much progress they've made on the vote count there in Wisconsin, I definitely don't see her overcoming that deficit, which is why over at Fox News, they saw the same thing. There's no way to overcome that deficit for her, so they called that state for Donald Trump. Michigan, the further we go into it, you're just not going to. I'm trying to see here. It's now 51-47, so he's leading by 4 points there, according to the New York Times.
From where?
In Michigan.
Okay, 51.4 to 46.8.
Yeah. So they rounded it off. Yeah, 51 to 47.
But the round off's important because that means it's 4.6 points ahead, right? Or 5 point.
Be closer to 4, wouldn't it? But anyway, they have
close, almost 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they now have that likely Republican, whereas a little while ago they had it leans Republican. You look at Wisconsin, the same thing. Again, this is the New York Times, and they haven't called it yet. They haven't called the election yet. They've called Pennsylvania. They haven't called Alaska. Okay, look. You could have called California for her this morning.
Who hasn't called Pennsylvania?
I said they have called Pennsylvania.
Oh, they have called. Okay.
Yeah. And you almost sounded like the guy in Seinfeld. Who's not wearing the ribbon? You don't want to? Who hasn't called Pennsylvania? You don't like Pennsylvania? The layout of it is, okay, he's going to win Alaska. It's 3 electoral votes. He's going to win Alaska. You could have gotten up this morning. Actually, you couldn't have gotten up 4 years ago and said, the Democrat will likely win California. We can call California 4 years ago for the Democrat. But it's, there is no path. If you look at the remaining states that haven't been called by the New York Times, there's no path for her to get to 270.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, Republican Bernie Moreno wins the Ohio Senate race. Here's a couple of comments from him in his victory speech.
Okay, I need to get this off the microphone. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Look, today starts a new wave. We talked about wanting a red wave. I think what we have tonight is a red, white, and blue wave in this country. Because what we need in the United States of America is leaders in Washington, D.C. that actually put the interests of American citizens above all else. We're tired of being treated like second-class citizens in our own country. We're tired of leaders that think we're garbage. And we're tired of being treated like garbage. You know, my opponent talked a lot about helping the working man. And I will agree with him on the need to help working Americans. But the difference is talk without action is nothing. So what we're going to do, thanks to now having a Republican majority, by the way, how about that, in the United States Senate, and Chuck Schumer, if you're watching, thanks for the help in the primary, but you're fired, buddy. This is a new dawn of Republican leadership. With President Trump and J.D. Vance in the White House, we are going to advance an agenda that is an American agenda.
There you go, Bernie Moreno. And I haven't checked. You know, it seems like if I don't check everything and scan everything every 15 minutes, it's like I feel way behind. Still, the projection. Well, it's not the projection; it's what it is right now. The Republicans have picked up 2 seats in the Senate, and now RCP and CNN agree. They've picked up so far 3 House seats right now. The interesting thing is in the Senate. Even Frank Luntz looked at it and said, "Wow, they could pick up 4 or 5 seats total. You could have 53 or 54." We've actually looked at it and said there's a possibility based on the numbers right now of 55. I doubt that will be 55, but they lead in all those races currently.
It's looking more and more like 54 is a very strong or distinct possibility. I don't know if strong's the right word. You know, you look at Sheehy, he has a commanding lead over Tester in Montana. In Wisconsin, Eric Hovde still has the lead over Baldwin, the incumbent Democrat there. You got Mike Rogers leading in Michigan over Slotkin. And in Pennsylvania, it's a thinner margin, but it is still a lead. McCormick leading Bob Casey, the incumbent.
By the way, by 1 full point, that's an increase.
Yeah, that's a wider.
Actually expanded the lead a little bit with 95% in.
But it's a slimmer lead than in other states, but still a lead. And again, you have to account for what do they have here? Okay, greater than 95% of the votes in, according to the New York Times in Pennsylvania. Yeah, so, wow. Looking, yeah, a distinct possibility they get to 54. The GOP in the Senate. You look at the Nevada race, that one's pretty close. Sam Brown leading right now in Nevada with 90% of the votes in over Jackie Rosen, 47.4 to 47.2. We're talking a couple thousand votes there.
Well, we would like to congratulate the administration of Joe Biden because if you look at the Dow futures, they're up 1,132 at the moment.
And that has doubled in the last three and a half hours because they were up a little over 500 points just before we went on the air.
Yeah, so congratulations for the Biden administration for that.
Right.
The NASDAQ futures up 342, S&P 126.
America and my 401k, thank you, Mr. Biden. But actually...
Want to see the breaking news on CNBC?
Yeah.
Trump media shares surge 50% as Trump nears election win.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Wow. But there you have it. I mean, the market's reacting positively to an era of what they hope will be based on the promises. And also, previous experience with Trump as being president, less regulation. But I think, too, when you look at the markets counting on something like that, wow, now plus 1119 on the Dow futures, 1,119. That's 2.6% on the upside. Man, if that holds. But the market looks at it and is measuring, I guess, the likelihood of being able to get things done, not just administratively, but also building a consensus on Capitol Hill, talking about regulation, but overall looking at a more profitable situation for companies, which means greater buying power for people in the U.S., greater job possibilities, better paying jobs, an expanding economy, which lifts everybody. And that's exactly where we were until COVID hit during the first Trump years term. That's right now what the market is hoping for, betting on essentially, and looking at. Because it's funny, I actually told some friends and family members, if Trump has momentum in 24, in the fall of 24, watch the markets, watch, and we'll see if that holds. Number one, we'll see if it holds for the day, much less, the kind of growth that we want to see. There's still the reality of where we are versus where the market would like us to be based on a new administration coming in and a very different policy or set of policies. There's still a lot that's broken that has to be fixed to get us out of where we are now. You look at the horrific jobs report last week, and then you look at everything else that's broken with the economy. And a lot of work has to be done. And that's when the market sobers up and says, oh, okay, all right, and we'll see where, that goes out. But long term, I think this has to be seen as, by the GOP, I'm hoping, that the GOP sees this as, this time around, you have to get it right. There has to be greater cooperation. I believe there will be. I believe, based on the campaign and who Trump has surrounded himself with, his surrogates, his VP pick, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, they'll be saying in a matter of hours, maybe. These are the choices everybody looks at, and when you're talking about building confidence, and that's what the market is looking at, building confidence in what the future will be, how this plays out. You have to have the makeup all, in the administration, in the staff, and on Capitol Hill to get those things done. And I'm wondering how much of that is priced in here in the uptick that we have seen since we've gone on the air in the futures. For now, the likelihood, well, not the likelihood, the fact that they will have the Senate, and they could be poised to keep it looks like they're going to keep the House as well. So
where I might differ a little bit is I don't necessarily think that it's incredible optimism that the Republicans are going to be able to move a lot through. It's that Democrats aren't there to hurt business.
Sure.
Because if they won and then took the Senate and the House, that had to be something that would be absolutely the biggest, paranoia narrative to business in this country. We're going to regulate climate change, regulation. Not that the Republicans may not do great, but I think it's more of a sigh of relief that if the Democrats won, they would have viewed that as a mandate. With how horrible everything has been over the last 4 years, if they could win, business would look at that and say, my God, what are they going to do? They're going to look at this as an endorsement now for all their climate change, regulations, regulation of business, you name it, fossil fuels, you name it, and it's going to hurt us. So, or a combination of both.
Well, I think that actually was my point, is that they're looking at an era of less regulation. Less regulation is exactly what you're looking at with the incoming administration, and that's what the market looks at, which means more profits.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from Scott Jennings.
All right.
His reflections.
Yeah.
Michigan tightening up a little bit now. And by the way, if you're just tuning in right now, Fox News, you had News Nation and others call the election for Trump.
Right.
CNN has him at RCP has him at 270 right now. New York Times, after he took Pennsylvania, Trump said there is no path. And so Trump already had his victory speech, and Kamala Harris didn't say anything. She just went home.
Right.
And so there's where we are right now. But you said, according to the New York Times.
Yeah, the race is tightened there in Michigan, as we suspected it would, with Wayne County still voting. They're like way behind everybody else, every other county in that state. But 80, and it's the largest county in terms of population. So you look at 89% of the votes in, according to the New York Times, and the race is tightened somewhat. The lead now is roughly 194,000. That may have just updated, but it was a 300 statewide. It was a 300,000 plus lead that Trump had earlier. That was expected that it would tighten with more and more votes being counted there in Wayne County. I'm still doing the math here, though, and it doesn't look like she's got the ability here, or mathematically, it's possible, but man, things would have to turn around in terms of the trend of how the votes are going, because he's still getting a fairly decent chunk for Wayne County. I mean, he's not winning by any stretch. I mean, she'll definitely win that county. But it's not like he's getting 0 votes. He's actually performing what he did in 2020. So we'll see where it goes.
Stay with us all night for up-to-the-minute election 2024 results with Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just going through X here, Eric, and just reading some of the stuff. Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, the polling service. Hey, Nate Silver, if you hadn't downranked us for BS reasons, we would have made your predictions more accurate.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Riley Gaines, we are officially unburdened by what has been.
Or what never was.
Oh, my gosh. This one. Dear Jack Smith, lawyer up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Democrats. I'll throw this one out there. Hey, Democrats, next time, how about you get a nominee that has at least 1 vote?
Yeah. great point. Here's this is C-SPAN, okay? Look, this is early on. This is like 4 or 5 hours ago, looking at the early numbers and looking at Iowa. Because in case, remember when we talked about this last week, we said, look, when she had polled, was it August, that Trump was up by 18? Actually, that was more accurate.
Yeah.
Because what is it?
14?
14 and a half last I checked. We said 18. Come on, come on. You know, we weren't sure of that.
Come on.
And then when she came out last week, and remember the Democrats, it was Friday, and then they got all excited about it. Here we go. 3 points. She's going to win. She wins Iowa. Well, then she's going to win the presidency.
That's the bellwether. Yeah. Okay.
And we're like, yeah. And from what last I saw, Trump was up 14 and a half in Iowa.
Yeah, it's 14 and a half points, yeah.
And this is C-SPAN looking at it. Okay, here we go. All right.
Mentioned Iowa and went through a couple of the races in Iowa. But according to the presidential vote, 90% are in. Donald Trump, 56%. Kamala Harris, 42%. So that poll, that Ann Seltzer poll...
was wrong. The poll was wrong. But, you know, Ann Seltzer would say that it could be wrong. You know, I mean, pollsters are, you know, this is not to beat up on anybody.
Yeah.
Pollsters do what they do. And when these races it's completely over with, we will dig through and find out where the polls were wrong and where they were right. But this one, which was such an outlier, appears to be an outlier.
It's more liar than it is out. I'll say that.
What do you mean? Pollsters do what pollsters do. Pollsters are not supposed to be off by 17 points.
Oh, they're just doing with it. You know, it is what it is.
Jeez.
Yeah. I will say this. If she only polled in Polk County, which is where Des Moines, for the Des Moines Register, where Des Moines is, Kamala won that county 55-44. Maybe she didn't make a phone call outside of Polk County. Oh, my God.
And let me play this. This is Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper.
Oh.
All right.
They're not crying, are they?
Here we go.
All right.
And Anderson, it is hard to think of a political comeback that is actually more significant than this one. I'm tempted to say Richard Nixon, but that really falls short of what Donald Trump has achieved.
Yeah, I mean, winning not just the electoral votes, but the popular vote as well.
Yeah, I know the point. I think I know the point he was trying to make on Nixon. But let's be clear: Nixon did not come back after his impeachment. Trump had two and came back.
Well, he wasn't. He actually wasn't impeached.
I know.
Right. I mean, he
yeah,
was.
He was
but
impeached. He wasn't convicted. Yeah. Right. Well,
no.
The votes were going to go for impeachment.
Right. He would have been impeached.
Yes.
But he was.
Right.
Yeah. He was not.
Right.
Impeached. Yeah.
So, and Trump had two impeachments that actually happened and came back. So I'd say it's a greater comeback. Look, in today's spectrum of, politics and how everything is political, I don't know that you can measure this comeback. I'm going to say a couple of words. January 6th, which is interesting because you know who will be involved in the officiating this coming January 6th and basically, putting the gavel on the election? Kamala Harris. Because she's vice president. Unless she steps down. There's always that possibility. But you look at where we have been.
Unburdened by what has been?
No, what never was. It never was, and everybody knows it. And that's exactly what the Democrats created, as always. They tried to create something out of nothing. They tried to point to something and say, that is what it is. That is that. And finally, the American people said, no, it's not. No, it isn't. She didn't get one vote to become the nominee. Not one. Her campaign in 2019 fizzled by December 3rd of that year. I mean, it was always going to end this way. Actually, the story is, holy cow, she got some votes. She got millions of votes. Actually, the anti-Trump vote is still alive to that extent. But you can see where the toxicity on Trump has diminished greatly in how he's outperformed pretty much everywhere, as the New York Post said, look, including all 4 boroughs of New York City.
That's why I asked this question now. Is this where the makeup of this country changes? Because Trump, except for the midterm, will be on the ballot.
Right.
But in 2028, he's not going to be there. You know,
Right. Yeah.
Trump
Right.
will not be on the ballot.
Right.
I think one of the things you cannot overlook, and I think they were looking at I just read the headline. I haven't even looked at the video yet where they were analyzing, for example, Arizona, where apparently they had, an abortion abortion bill on the ballot, which, again, is looking different than, the actual race. And they're saying there are people that voted to protect abortion but still voted for Trump.
Right.
And so I asked the question earlier, is this the last election where abortion is actually a major issue? Because you're going to have all the blue states that will put it into their law. New York did it with Prop 1.
Mm-hmm.
There were other propositions across the country on it.
Mm.
And so you settle that in your state, it's not an issue anymore.
Right.
And if you don't have abortion, if abortion is now the 7th or 8th issue down there, or 10th issue, whatever, and not the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, as it is now, then how do Democrats win elections in the future? What is the issue that they win elections on? And we'll probably play, we might not play some today, but tomorrow, just the reaction of the mainstream media. I mean, they've gone ballistic. I mean, this shows that the country now, half the country is sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever phobic or ist there is out there is how they're viewing the American public. Oh, I can't wait to hear Joe Scarborough. He's going to be going. But that's what they were doing. I mean, they're going bonkers on it. And it's like, well, will they change? Can you run on demonization and hate? Can you run after this election on identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals? Can you run on the misogyny of the radical transgender movement? Can you run on an open border? Those are the things that you have to ask if you're a political, if you're one of the political analysts of either political party or anybody at the DNC or RNC. Where do we go from now?
Yeah, right.
And do the Democrats attempt to moderate now, or do they throw the same thing they did in 2016? Well, we need to stop just flying over flyover country. Mm-hmm. We need to get in the car, and we need to get in the pickup truck with our hunting rifle and our hunting cap and
a Tim Waltz tape,
and head out there to the Midwest to see how them folks really how they operate and how they think. By the way, I'm not trying to impersonate anybody. I'm saying what somebody on the left, how they would.
I was going to say that sounded just like Tim Walz.
How they would angle it.
You got to wave your hands more, but it was pretty good. It's. I suspect, or I guess I expect, nothing less than them to kind of regroup, sober up, and come back. Next week or over the next month or so, and be the radicals that they are. What they do at election time is that question, which is where you started. I had to click over, by the way, to Nevada, and looking at Clark County. This is the largest county population-wise in Nevada. It is Las Vegas. Trump has 48.8%.
Whoa.
It's a blue county.
Is that why?
She has 49.6. I don't think there is, let me go back and.
Let me just throw in quickly. Is that why, what is Election Desk HQ called Nevada for Republicans?
I don't see a victory. And New York Times is now saying likely Republican.
Where's the New York Times on Wisconsin right now? Do you have that in front of you?
Likely Republican, and they have.
What about Michigan?
Lean Republican.
And then Nevada?
Nevada, that's what we just said. Likely.
Oh, likely. Sorry.
Arizona is lean Republican. But you look at I don't know that she's able to make up the deficit based on where the count is, because in Clark County, again, this is Las Vegas, 87% of the votes in. She's got 49.6. He's got 48.8. And also, with 79% of the votes in Washoe County, that would be Reno.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 50 and she's got 48. But the major blue county there, Clark County and Nevada, she's not even leading by a full point. And they've got 87% of the votes in. I think it's safe for somebody to call. I believe them when they call Nevada for Trump. New York Times is saying right now on their meter, likely Republican. They haven't called it. But there is a deficit there of roughly 60,000, a little over 60,000 votes. And she can't make that up for her against Trump. And she can't make that up based on, again, everything that's being reported.
What about early voting?
If they're saying 85% of the votes in, that usually includes all of that. Because a lot of that, is early voting and also mail-in voting. A lot of these states don't start counting anything until Election Day, but they count a lot of the mail-in stuff starting at that morning of Election Day, so yesterday morning. So if they're including all of that, and they are, there is no, unless they come, again, if the state comes back and says, well, it didn't include this and that, I just don't see her overcoming that deficit there or in Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin definitely goes to Trump.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I guess what we'll be looking for is other news organizations. Fox News, you had Decision Desk HQ, you had, I keep forgetting the name of it, News
Nation.
News Nation. Mm-hmm. Chris Cuomo, the first one to call that Trump has won the election. Yeah, I don't think AP has yet, or the Washington Post, or the New York Times, even though the New York Times, once they projected he wins Pennsylvania, there is no path for her. That's, for all intents and purposes, saying that you project that he's going to win. We've already seen, I think it was Jake Tapper saying, well, he held his victory speech and the election is not officially over. Well, the election won't be over until they certify all the votes.
Right.
So, I mean, but really looking at where's the Senate going to go?
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's still a possibility. It might only be 3 or 4, but a possibility that they could pick up another 5 seats in the Senate.
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.